Hello, Serge here from the backyard driving range. Don't need a clipboard today because I'm going to talk about a golf lesson I recently had with one of my very fine college players, and I've been seeing him fairly regularly lately, and the swing has been really improving. And he called me the other day, and he said that he's really hitting the ball pretty good, but he's just not quite where he wants it to go. And so could I come take a look at him? Well, I got out there and saw him, and overall the setup looked really good. He was striking the ball, striking it very well, good and solid, but everything was just good, solid hits, right, good. Naturally, most of the time when we see those, we're immediately somebody's going to say, "Well, I'm blocking them to the right." Well, as you all know from lessons past, what's the first question I'm going to ask in regard to that? I'm going to get right behind him and check out his alignment, because if we're blaming blocks to the right as blocks, that's calling it a swing error, when in fact it could be just an alignment error. Now, in his case, that wasn't the case. He was actually lined up pretty darn good. So it was a swing issue, blocking it to the right, but it wasn't the normal blocks issue. What I saw with him was, when he was taking his swing, we had worked him the lesson before in getting preloaded heavy right and being behind the ball at impact, getting the 3/4 limited turn swing. And he was hitting the ball pretty good, but now he was hitting these low block rights too. And so what I saw was he wasn't preloaded heavy right. He was still basically neutral. But when he started his backswing, he had a pretty good athletically ready setup to start with. But when he started his backswing, his left knee was going backwards a little bit, and because I think he was going and getting into too big a hip turn. And once the hip turn we can only turn so far before this leg being connected to this hip. If we turn enough, the leg starts to straighten. And if this leg starts to straighten, for the equal and opposite reaction is that leg starts to go in a little bit. So I was starting to see a little bit of right leg going straight, turning the hips, causes the center of gravity of the body and the center of the swing up here to start going a little bit left. EBRT, end of backswing reverse tilt. So he's getting slightly ahead of the ball. Then from there, he just swung straight down and hit it right out there. Because being ahead of the ball and a little bit overturned, his shoulders were now, he was swinging parallel to his shoulder line out there, which was inside out for his feet line, and hitting relatively solid shots, pretty good distance. But because he was ahead, the face was de-lofted a little bit, and they were going out there pretty low and hot. Okay, so the dilemma was, more than anything, I mean, he's hitting it pretty solid, but it's going right. So what's the number one thing we had to do? We had to, and number one, truly get him preloaded heavy right. Because remember what I said, ironically, which is very rare, his alignment was spot on parallel left, which I very rarely see. But I mean, every shot I checked from behind, he was parallel left. So we had to truly get him preloaded heavy right, get him back in the right side a little bit more. He wasn't far off, but he had to get there. But the big issue is he was turning his hips too much. So I had to tell him, once you reach the toe line, there is no more turn. All it is once you reach the toe line, you're in the catcher's mitt, and you turn to the toe line, and from there it's all lift. And we worked on making sure that when he turned into and he got to his toe line, he was sitting or sinking into his right side. He had to start feeling that he was going down, sort of like the pitcher getting ready to make to throw the ball. Anybody, you catch a ball and throw it. Tennis player, they throw the ball up in front of them. As they throw it up, their body goes down, and they go out and get the ball in front of them. They don't throw it up back here. They throw it up in front so they can go get to it. So the whole concept of loading is to be able to drive forward. All right, but if you lose your load because you never really had it, because you're turning too much and/or you're straightening your forward leg out and it's pushing your body forward, you never loaded. So we had to get him loaded, and that's the concept I call, you turn a little and you sit or sink into your right side. You should feel your back knee should actually flex a little bit more, so you know you're on it. You start to feel the stretching of these muscles from the back of your kneecap all the way up to above of the top of your hip, just below your belt. You can feel all those muscles stretching, because when they're going down, these muscles of your lower leg, ankle to the knee, and then the knee to the hip are all stretching. Stretching means they're getting longer. Longer means now that they'll be able to what? Push off, and as I call it, push up, because we swing up. But again, if your leg straightens, your leg is going up, and then once you start going to the ball, and the knee has to go back that way, it's going to overclasp, because what straightens is going to break as it goes down. And conversely, what's going to happen? This one broke going in as that one straightens, and then they're going to reverse rolls. and you're going to be very likely spinning out and being ahead of the ball. So we keep the knees more level this way. They're level together until we truly stand up. I sit or sink into the right side. I can feel all the muscle stretch. And now I can, when I start my transition with the bump, I am bumping and pushing up. I am pushing off. I'm pushing up. I am not driving down. Many of us were taught in the old days to drive the right knee towards the left ankle. We're pushing up. So the key is you have to sit or sink into the back leg. All right? So when you do that, that creates the level swing to come in here and hit the ball more solid and straight. So you turn, it's just a little bit of turn and a lot of lift. Once you reach the toe line, there's no more turn. As you're lifting your arms up, you should be feeling your body, the legs, the muscles in your legs up to your hips strengthen, because you're going to sit or sink into that right side. And once you have sunk down into it, then what do? When you bump, you are what? You're pushing off and pushing upward, and then you do that, you get a swing like that, and it's solid and straight and hit the bullseye. All right, so let's work on making sure we sit and sink into that right side. And when you sit and sink, you're staying behind the ball, and you'll keep your wide knees out with pressure, and you just swing up. All right, but we got to sit or sink into the right leg. Just think about throwing, okay? Well, on being correctly preloaded heavy right and the proper transition of swinging up by pushing upward, you first have to sink downward. So the golf swing is down, up, where most of us play up, down with the backside, okay? We want down, up. Do that, and you'll be hitting it much more solid straight. And like this student, you'll be hitting it not only straight, you get better height, better trajectory, and be hitting it farther. That's it for the search for today, and I'll be talking to you all again soon.